Well, hello everyone, and welcome to an exclusive interview by Recovery Today Magazine to recoverytodaymagazine.com, where first and foremost, we are a magazine of hope. Whether you're considering addiction recovery for yourself or for a loved one, or maybe you've been actively in recovery for a short time or many, many years, you're going to find all kinds of topics related to addiction, recovery, and living a happy, successful, and sober life here at Recovery Today. My name is Rob Hanley. I'm the producer of Recovery Today Magazine, and as usual, I am joined by another really, really cool guest. This is KT Hart, and let me do her justice here with her amazing bio. KT is a dynamic television show host who engages her audience with humor, experience, and passion. She's committed to helping people to connect with animals in their lives and to improve the quality and depth of their relationships, and by extension, the lives of everyone and every animal that they touch. She's modestly seeking to shift the consciousness of the planet and to improve the lives of everyone who tunes in. She's a television show host, she's an actress, she's an animal communicator, a trainer, and an animal behaviorist. She also integrates animals, and she's also an accomplished equestrian. She integrates animals very strongly into recovery and assists in that kind of modality in recovery herself. In another life, by the way, I will say, which is obviously very, very cool and unique, she was a professional wrestler. She had started with Glow, the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, I think is what that is. Then moved on to the WWF, the World Wrestling Federation, which is now the WWE, and she had won 5 different world titles, I assume. So really, really cool. I was very excited, as I told our audience, Katie, about if you like animals, you're going to absolutely love our next guest. So thanks so much for taking a little bit of time and jumping on here today with us.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let's kind of jump right into it's funny, when we talked, I said, the kind of the animal side, because I had actually known you as when our mutual friend Cord had introduced us, I had known you as Glow, as World Wrestling Federation, WWE, and everything like that. And then I was really blown away by, I say, everything that you do with animals, because you set me straight right away, saying, well, this is my life. So I guess kind of let's start there with maybe, an animal behaviorist. What is an animal behaviorist and an animal communicator? I mean, I already have some ideas in my mind, but I'd love you to start there.
Well, I'm going to say let go of your beliefs and your ideas that you have. Maybe just suspend them, put them on the shelf is kind of one of my favorite sayings, just for a moment. So basically, an animal behaviorist is somebody who studies the behavior of different species of animals. Letting go of, I'm going to say, a true animal behaviorist lets go of their anthropomorphic view or their humanistic view and explores the different behaviors of the other animal species on the planet. That's what a behaviorist is. A communicator is somebody that actually communicates with animals. So I not only talk to animals, but I can translate and get information back from them as well. It was easy to integrate the animal training. I owned Hollywood Animal Stars for 23 years, providing animals for movies, television commercials, live events, videos, etc., music videos. Print work, all kinds of things. And I still do that today occasionally, but I pick and choose my venues very carefully. I choose who I want to hang around more these days, which is a good thing. But an animal trainer, the training end of things became very easy because I am able to get my information directly from the individual animal that's in front of me and then do exactly what basically their instruction book says to do, and then the behaviors just come easily. I never came out of the closet when I was full-blown into Hollywood and telling people that I was an animal communicator.
Why?
I got ridiculed. When I started kind of, I was born that way. I was just born communicating with animals. When I was about 7 or 8 years old.
People calling you like Dr. Doolittle or something like that?
Well, I would kind of like to have his paycheck, but no, I'm not Dr. Doolittle. I'm kind of, people say, oh, are you kind of like, Caesar, dog whisperer? And I'm like, well, kind of take that and expand it out a whole lot. I don't know that there's a model for what exactly I do and the skills that I have. most of my skills are natural, but I have a lot of schooling. I have a lot of certifications as well. But what I didn't, what you can't school or what you can't totally teach, and there's some controversy as to whether this is true or not, but it's been my experience and understanding and my observation that you really truly can't teach animal communication. The heart is either open and the intuition is either there or it isn't. I can encourage people to open their intuition, but I was born communicating with animals. When I was about 7 or 8 years old, I began to observe that other people weren't doing what I was doing, and it was kind of a weird, kind of a, I'm going to say an epiphany for me, almost discouraging, and almost, I went into a shell is what I did. And when I was 11 years old, I actually stopped talking to people. At 13, my mother took me to a child psychiatrist to find out what was wrong with me. I didn't need people. I didn't need what I was experiencing was a lot of abuse. I had my house growing up was very noisy, lots of physical and emotional abuse. That went on behind closed doors and even out in parking lots. So it wasn't a pleasant place to be, so I retreated to all my animals, and I was surrounded by animals all the time. And my father tells the story when I was 2 years old that I...
Did you grow up on a farm or something? Where were you?
I didn't. My grandmother had 500 acres in Trinity County, California, where I had my first pony when I was 3. We used to go up there frequently. So she had ponies and geese and lots of rattlesnakes. And I never got bitten by rattlesnakes because, again, I could communicate with animals. So I haven't, I have all my limbs. I have all my legs. I don't have any big scratches or bites or anything. I had 3 Siberian tigers, 2 packs of wolves, coyotes, foxes, bear. I mean, I've worked with all kinds of species of animals, including a 9-foot alligator and, many other reptiles and things. And so far, I have all my limbs together. I keep my ego as far away from me as possible, although I know it's part of me. I do my best not to allow it to lead, because in the ego is where I will not have any limbs with those kind of animals. So, yeah, I was really blown away when we first started talking, as I am here now as well, because I already know, and probably anybody that's watching the video right now knows that there's like so much more that's here, like it's bursting to come out, like all of these different stories. In fact, I'm kind of racing to think like, well, what track do I take and what question do I ask? But I guess I'll kind of come back around to when I go to movies and things like that. I mean, I've had pets. I've had probably the most exotic thing we've ever had is we had an iguana, which actually didn't like my wife quite a bit, didn't like me. Very territorial, thought she was his girlfriend. Yeah.
And I didn't like that very much, but never anything like when we were talking, you brought up immediately about wolves and bears and all these things I hear. So I guess kind of let's go maybe into some of the, you're the person like when there's a movie and they need a pack of wolves, or when maybe I'm thinking like of Anthony Hopkins and Alec Baldwin in, trying to think what the movie was where they're stranded in the Canadian Rockies, The Edge. And they have this gigantic Kodiak bear. Someone, you or someone like you, cares for, I know you don't like the word owns that bear, but, stewards the bear, whatever it is, and you're responsible. Is that what you were doing then?
Yeah, exactly. So if I didn't have the animals, and so no one animal company can own all the animals that are necessary in film work. So in other words, my 3 Siberian tigers, they were all rescues. I didn't seek out a breeder. I got a call from, at the time I was living in British Columbia, I got a call from the curator of the what was known as the Vancouver Zoo at the time. It's now changed its name. But no, actually it was called Vancouver Game Farm is what it was called. But anyway, so I took those 3 in as rescues, and we did the odd job with them, but most of the time they sat around and they ate. And they had a good time and all that, and I did my best to find homes for them. I actually only found a home for one of them. One of them died early from kidney failure due to poor diet at the zoo, and that was heart-wrenching. But and then I did find a home for one of them at a private zoo in Maryland, where they built her this giant enclosure with a pond where she could play alligator and jump out of the water at last-minute spectators and just drench them. So she had a sense of humor, and she loved jumping on top of her den box that was higher than the perimeter fence, so she could watch the school kids get off the bus. But yeah, so I'm the person that, you know, if I didn't have the animal, I would call another animal trainer that I trusted at some level and bring them in. And then yeah, I mean, there's a lot of training that goes into say even a shot with an animal in the forest. You've seen an animal go from point A to point B. There's still training that's involved with that, quite a bit actually. So yeah.
Give me a little bit of the genesis of your kind of your bio, like because it seems so disjointed. Like I would think, and I'm hearing obviously like from the time I was a kid, I knew I had these abilities, and everybody else doesn't kind of share these, and I can communicate and all this stuff like that, which is very cool with animals. But then also there's this whole other piece that's hanging out there for me, like the wrestling. Like, so where and how did this happen? Like, is it animals all the time, and then you had this opportunity for wrestling, and then now your whole business is animals, and walk me through that.
So, okay, so it was a little wild. So I was raised a corporate brat, actually. My dad was CFO of Hyatt Corporation and director on the board for 12 and a half years. And so I was raised, you know, with Hyatt Corporation. And my father was, by birthright, Grand Duke of Austria, making me an countess. I mean, for, you know, I sort of, and I don't mean a pun in this, but I don't know how else to say it. I sort of fell into professional wrestling. I never watched it on television. I was into bodybuilding, and profoundly enough, I got into bodybuilding. I learned that subconsciously I was building my muscles so I could protect myself because I was physically abused as a kid. And I consequently went into competing in figure and, you know, still kind of delving in that, a little bit on hiatus in that department right now. But anyway, I met this girl at a tanning salon of all things. I was managing this tanning salon, and she used to come in, and come to find out, we both trained at Gold's Gym in Venice. And so her car was in the shop. She said, "Hey, can you give me a ride?" I said, "Sure." So I did. And then she needed to go to East LA, of all places, to train in this garage where they had a wrestling ring, and she needed a ride. And so I said I would take her. Well, so her partner that was supposed to be training with her didn't show up. She said, "Can I use you?" And I went, "What does exactly that mean? I mean, I can't get hurt." And so anyway, it was so much fun. And 3 weeks later, I had my first match down in Tijuana. We walked in, and there were 6,000 black-headed people, and we were the only two blondes. And we wrestled the tag team champions of the world from Mexico, and they were flyers, and they didn't speak a lick of English. And
so flyer is like the old wrestling, like Nacho Libre, I'm thinking, where they...
Oh, totally. Like, I don't know if anybody's familiar with, like...
They're up on top, and they're going to fly and jump on you, right?
Oh my gosh, so much. And they were acrobats. Well, I had a gymnastics background, but I had no idea what I was doing in a wrestling ring. And Killer Tomato was her name, and she said, "All you need to do is just throw a forearm punch, tag out, and I'll take care of everything." I'm like, "Okay, cool, great." Well, so when I threw that forearm punch, they just started double teaming me in the corner, and I couldn't get over. When I tried to get over to my partner, they grabbed a hold of my hair, and I had no idea how to defend myself. Not a clue. Now I know someone grabs your hair, you grab the wrist, you know, as hard as you can, so you go with it. It's kind of like dancing, you know. But I had no idea what was going on, and I got the snot beat out of me, basically. I had hair falling out for 3 weeks, and I knew then and there that I had to continue in this thing to conquer it. It wasn't going to conquer me. So that's kind of how that is exactly how I got into professional wrestling.
So then that just led to one more booking and one more booking. And for how long? How many years?
So that actually started before Glow. After that, I went every Saturday to San Bernardino. There was a wrestling ring there, and Pat Tanaka and Mondo and Chavo Guerrero would be there, and and teach us, except that they taught the way that the guys wrestle, and the guys wrestle very differently than the way women do. We take our falls a whole lot differently. If we took them the way the guys do, you get more hurt. And of course, that's what happened to me in the beginning. I got more hurt, but I was still, like 110% in, and like I said, I was going to conquer this thing. And then I got the girl that first took me to the wrestling ring. Was on the pilot for Glow and said, hey, you want to go to Vegas with me? We're going to shoot this pilot and you can hang out and watch. I said, sure. And a few months later, I got a call from the executive producer asking if I was interested in coming in for an interview. They hired me as Corporal Kelly, although my wrestling name was Olympia. And, Olympia. And but they hired me as Corporal Kelly, so I became Corporal Kelly and trained with the color guard in the Marines, color guard in Las Vegas, and learned how to shoot and do the whole drills, and it was a gas. It was so much fun. So yeah, we had to do our own rap songs and our own comedy sketches, and so I lasted for a season there with a bunch of girls. We got injured, and I took almost a year off, so I got severely injured and could have easily got, connected with opiates and could have easily gotten addicted, but I knew at that time the danger, so I didn't even go down that road.
So you won 5 different titles then over how many years was this again?
Yeah, so I started wrestling in 86, and I was pretty much full-time until 90, I'm going to say 90. And then I went back to it. I was kind of part-time until about 92-ish. But I started we've got some interruption here. Guard dog extraordinaire. He's a 5-month-old puppy. He's giant. I'll show you him. You'll have to see him. Anyway, so I was, part-time. And then I went from the wrestling, the TV show in San Bernardino every Saturday. We taped 3 shows, and then I went to Glow, and then I went to the WWF, so I went to South Carolina and trained with the Fabulous Moolah, who introduced me to Vince McMahon, and then, but I was under contract with Vince, but I also could work, I worked for AWA, the NWA, the ICW, and just wrestled all over the United States and Canada and Europe. Didn't go to Japan because they allowed smoking in the arenas, and I wasn't going to do that. So, so anyway, that's how that happened. And then I went back to it in 2007 after having 4 kids, 4 girls, and was up in Canada, and it was just so much fun. It was, every Saturday again, we had a TV show that aired, and it was a lot of fun. There were some sketches and backstories, and it was just fun. So I guess I'm thinking after the wrestling is kind of coming to an end, then how did professionally, when you're saying, well, these guys called me up and they asked me if I could take a couple of Siberian tigers, how does one ever even be in a position where somebody calls you up to say, can you take a Siberian tiger? Where was that a parallel track for you at the same time? While you're a professional wrestler, you're also becoming certified in exotic animals and things? How so there's no real true, if you want to call it, certification for working with animals. And there's all kinds of, people come up with certifications. So it's, I guess you're kind of limited sometimes with your certification in terms of who it is that certifies you, if that makes sense.
Licensed and stuff, though. You got to be somebody that's on the radar for somebody to call you up and say, we got a Siberian tiger.
Oh yeah, well for sure. So I'm a master dog trainer. Got my certification with Prion Animal Institute when I was 18 and 19 years old. So I worked with the police department and doing obstacles with my dogs and their dogs long before there was ever agility. But anyway, the exotic animals, what happened with that is in 1993, I went up to Canada to shoot White Fang 2 with another animal company with 17 wolves and wolf hybrids, wolf dogs. And, we went to the zoo on my half of an afternoon off. We worked 6.5 days a week, 3 units. It was insane. Anyway, so I met the curator at the time and fell in love with his tigers there. And I met a guy when I was, during the movie. I met a guy, got married, had 4 kids, got a divorce, moved back to California. But that was a span of 16 years. So, but those are the cliff notes on that one. So, yeah.
Okay. So, I guess part of what I want to jump into as well, obviously, is we're a recovery magazine, and I know that from talking before that you're in recovery to a degree yourself, or I don't know whether it was because I know we talked a little bit about depression, anxiety, you know, perhaps eating and things like that. But then also there's a whole other side, which was your use of animals, maybe specifically it's horses on the equestrian side. And then we started really talking about how animals can help people in recovery, because obviously that's our audience is here. So kind of shifting gears a little bit kind of into the recovery side. Tell me, a little bit about that.
So, so I am the director of the Equine and Exotic, or an all-animal assisted learning program at the retreat at Zion. And it's a beautiful area. You know, people say, well, you know, where's your home? Or where do you live? I said, well, you know, I live in Utah. Or where are you from? And, you know, I'm like, well, really, I'm from Hawaii. That's where my heart is. I'm vacationing in Utah right now. Right now, it's, you know, indefinitely. And, you know, Zion's a beautiful place to vacation or live or whatever. It's just a very healing place to be, but I never saw myself in Utah. But the retreat at Zion is, they've sort of opened the doors and given me carte blanche in terms of what I want to do with the animals. And, you know, we've got chickens up there, and in my personal care, I'm the caretaker of, right now in my own house, we've got 6 dogs, 2 cats, 2 bunnies, and then up at the retreat, I've got 6 horses, and then I've got my wolf puppy as well that I'd love to introduce you to her if you'd like to see her.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, she's awesome. So she's a high-content wolf dog or wolf hybrid, and I do plan on, you know, extending the recovery end of the program to school children so they can really understand why wolves should not be delisted and how important they are to our ecosystem and changing.
Delisted is delisted off of the protected species.
Right, meaning they can be killed. Yeah, at random. So, yeah, but I mean, sort of off topic, but not really off topic. It's important that people go watch Medicine of the Wolf on Amazon Prime or the Yellowstone series that has a big section about wolves on Netflix. They're both really, really informative in terms of how important wolves are to our environment and to balance. And, you know, full circle back to balance, animals really create an environment of balance within us. And so not just for recovery in terms of addiction are they important, but I think most people that have animals, I know that most people that have animals and truly love their animals will agree with that statement, that they create a fertile environment for balance and allowing us to keep our hearts open, not just to the outside world, but to ourselves. And so I do use horses. I do use my wolf puppy. I use dogs as well. What has happened in my own experience, he's got something to say in there. What's happened in my own experience is that many people, and not just what we would term addicts, are disconnected from their true self. Or they don't even know what that means. It sounds like a foreign, like we might as well be talking about aliens from another, you know, universe. Because we don't really understand what that means. Our animals bring us to that place of truth organically. And so if you can hang out more in that area, it becomes more of something that you want more of. So that becomes, you know, I'm doing my best to channel the addictive mentality because I've had that my entire life. And just channel it to something that is more productive, that serves them or serves me more, which is the focus being on the animals.
So what do you observe? Like, I mean, I'm thinking like how I personally feel. We've got a couple of cats. I told you the other day we just got a brand new kitten. That's a lot of fun. But I'm trying to think like how I feel when I'm petting. You know, it seems like it calms you down. Like, is it because that the animal doesn't have any agenda? Is that what it is, or it's? Well,
that's definitely a huge piece of it. I mean, there's all kinds of medical white paper on what happens. You're correct. I mean, the blood pressure goes down, the heart rate goes down, the respiration goes down, the system overall, the body system becomes less acidic, you know, meaning less stress. I mean, we know what happens when we feel stressed or we feel tight or any of that. There's, you know, an acidic system, and that's where disease gets to take off and all that. So yeah, the animals do create an environment organically of just everything calming down. So in other words, you're not sitting there petting your cat like, gee, I really hope that my blood pressure goes down, and, you know, really hope. You're not even thinking about it. It just organically happens. And what I've seen happen in the lives of people that actually open themselves up to the equine-assisted learning is that the
and that's what we call, I'm sorry, that's what we call, that's what the term is for like horses used in recovery. Is that right? Equine-assisted learning?
The horses seem to resonate more with that terminology because I've put it to them. It's like, what do you guys resonate more with? Equine-assisted therapy, and equine-assisted. What do you equine therapy? What do you resonate with more? And the majority of them, all but one, Gracie. Gracie says that she's a therapist, and that's that. Nurse Gracie and Dr. Gracie. I'm like, oh yes, ma'am. Okay, but she's the only one that disagrees.
So okay, I have to stop because I did not expect that. So of course, for me, the elephant in the room is they say this to you. So I know that we're talking in the very beginning. I said, okay, an animal communicator, and then I said a little bit jokingly, like, okay, like Dr. Doolittle, and I've had this ability. So do you? I mean, obviously they don't speak audibly. Or do you? I mean, really? Like you got? So I can't just pass over that. Like you have to tell me about that.
So. It's sometimes explaining the animal communication is much like explaining the color red.
Okay.
So go ahead, explain the color red to me. Sure, and pretend I'm a blind person. Explain the color red. How do you explain the color red, let alone an elephant? You mentioned the elephant. So the best way that I can describe it is that I not only get feelings, I see pictures. I do in my imagination, I don't hear voices per se, but there is like a voice associated with that animal, more of a, not an audible voice, but there is. So when you're thinking in your head, and you hear sometimes, but you don't audibly hear. You hear kind of what's going on, like with the thought process.
Intuitively, yeah.
But who is it that's talking? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Who is it that's talking, right? We talk about our emotional body or our intellectual body or our physical body as if they're different entities, but they're all in the same, or our spiritualness or our spiritual body. All encompassed.
So you ask the horses, because I'm thinking like, it's funny, okay, so don't be like, I'm just probably like, I would say, like most people, I'm definitely not tuned in like you. So, and I'm also thinking of just the man on the street, woman on the street. I'm thinking, in one hand, I'm thinking, what difference does it make what the horses are called? Let's ask the horses. But then also, and kind of thinking about how, from your perspective, okay, then I'm like, well, it matters because the horses are actually the ones that are actually doing it, the it part, right?
Right.
So what is it? So I guess, and then, because I had to ask that. So then the horses are called, what was it again?
Equine-assisted learning.
Okay, equine-assisted learning. So they like that best. I get it. I understand it. So then how does that, when you take them, when the horses go with you to, and they're meeting somebody that's in recovery, like what happens and what's going on?
Okay, so when you say what happens, that's kind of a loaded question because every time it's different. I never know what's going to happen. I can have curriculum laid out for the day and have kind of a guideline and my plan in place. They always change it. I don't know.
Maybe what's the goal or assumption or reasoning then to connect them together? What's the overall probably? Like, I mean, it could go a lot of different ways, but obviously it's going to be ministering to them. It's going to be meditating for them, I assume, but like, yeah.
So the best way I can describe it is that I allow the animals to speak through me and to the people directly because, especially horses, they're incredibly intuitive. They are really good reflections of what's going on with us, whether it's unresolved issues that we have or maybe untruths or maybe a lack of integrity. And by that, I mean, if I'm asking somebody a question that the horse is asking, and they respond in a manner that the horse isn't happy with, then I look back at the horse and the horse is like, no, that's not it. That person needs to dig deeper. And I'll look back at that person and say, Thumbelina says you need to dig deeper because That's true,
Wow.
but there's more. And so sometimes what I see is some really huge emotional responses. Sometimes there's, you know, upwelling of tears. Most of the time it's tears. Oftentimes there's agitation as well. And so a horse will reflect that agitation. I have one horse that on the stick, he measures 17.2, and he has a high neck set as well. I call him my giraffe. And he's imported from Germany, and he's perfect to reflect somebody's agitation back to them. He becomes this mellow, big, giant puppy dog when they're balanced. When they're not balanced, he becomes almost lethal.
So any person, myself, I could actually observe that and see this actually happening. Because in my mind, obviously, I'm thinking like, okay, it's funny because I didn't expect that. Literally, I was kind of expecting, like, you know, you touch the horses and there's this connection, but I really didn't expect, like, okay, so the horse says this and the horse wants to know, or whatever the horse's name is, because he wouldn't probably even say the horse, you know, she is asking this, and then, but I'm assuming that you get really deep really quickly then, and then people, they want to be honest with the horse too. Is that?
Yeah, the horses don't put up with lies. Animals don't know lies, and so to them it's very black and white. And so it's my job becomes very easy. It's very black and white.
So what kind of results do you see then when you're doing this? Like what is the, you know, maybe I know they're all different, but like what happens sometimes they break down crying, they have a huge breakthrough, like what goes on?
Yeah, oftentimes there are breakthroughs. I mean, it depends on the individual's desire to reach that next level of freedom, to evolve, to open up their consciousness, to not only the possibilities around them, but the internal possibilities, which of course then reflects by extension the world around them. So it really just depends. Everything's so individual, but there are always results. I mean, I've done corporate events too, where I've had a team of corporate leaders of 6 different high-level top corporate leaders come in, and they become like little children around the animals. And that's what I noticed, and that's what I love about Hollywood and working with animals in Hollywood, is watching these people that have giant egos come in, and you know, they see these little animals or the bigger animals, and they just become like little innocent children. And a lot of times with the bigger animals like tigers and bears, even horses, there's a fear factor. And so we get to address that fear factor. You know, there's a really great book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And so I get to talk about fear, not just in terms of what fear really is, which is love inside out. It's just an energy. It just is. But, you know, what's fear to one person is not to another. And so I get to then talk, you know, help them understand what the animals, how the animals view fear. And then exactly what the animal is telling them in terms of how to move through that. Because it's just an illusion most of the time.
Wow. So, you know, now I'm thinking about some people coming in, like Hollywood actors, or as you said, people with egos, and then they just immediately, like, all the pretense drops down, all of they're just going to connect overall with the animal. And then I know it's funny that obviously animals connect differently with different people, too. They sense things.
You bet.
Wow. Okay. So, I'm kind of, my mind's kind of going a lot of different ways, because I'm still like kind of taken back. Like, okay, the animal says this, or not the animal, but you know, whatever the animal's name is saying this. Whereas usually, what I'm accustomed to is my wife saying, "Why does the cat seem to like you more than me?" You know.
That's funny.
You know, or something. I mean, I'm the one that feeds it, or I'm such and such like that. Or people just generally saying, "Oh, my dog likes you." Oh, you know, type of a thing. Well, but not nearly to that kind of a level. So, what kind of, I guess, is it all kind of issues that you use the animals with? Is it mostly substance abuse? Is it depression? I would assume would be very
everything. PTSD is a big one. People that have post-traumatic stress. You know, oftentimes, you know, we get people in the retreat that have suffered, of course. In fact, it's been my experience that most of the people that suffer from addiction have some sort of form of PTSD. And so horses, my wolf puppy is extremely instrumental in that. People feel very special when they're around a wolf. not just because, you know, wolves are very, very misunderstood by...
Is there a smartest animal, by the way?
I would say they're right up there with, you know, your dolphins and your orcas, and you know.
What's the not smartest or dumbest animal then? I guess I would say a reptile. I'm guessing a snake.
No, and I wouldn't say that they're dumb. So I wouldn't say any animal is really dumb. I mean, within each species, including insects, there's a divine intelligence, and so, you know, when we rate an animal as, you know, dumb or smart or intelligent, we're using, again, an anthropomorphic scale. You know, so we're definitely coming from a human. You know, what's the IQ? What's the EQ?
So everybody that's watching this is going to think I'm dumb right now too, as a matter of fact. So, including you. All right. I'll table that because most people think pigs are the smartest.
Pigs are really smart. I love working with pigs. Pigs are great. I mean, the thing is, you know, as each individual was created and formed from the divine, the infinite source, power, creator, God, or whatever you want to call that. You know, I have to interject this. You know, I started studying Eckhart Tolle a few years ago, and I just thought it was brilliant what he said. He said, you know, the world wars are waged, you know, with, you know, against my God, your God, but go ahead and argue the infinite, my infinite, your infinite. So for me, I was raised in the Catholic Church, and, you know, I'm not any religion. I moved completely away from Catholicism at a very young age, saw the hypocrisy there, and I'm sure there's a whole bunch of amazing people that decide to go to church. Lots of my relatives are still Catholic, and they're wonderful people. If it works for you, stay there, but it just didn't work for me. And, you know, so I kind of went a different route, and my train just left the station, sorry. I don't know where I was going with that, but it was somewhere good.
That was good too. And it took me on a ride there as well. But we were talking about, like, you're saying that all the animals are made from the
exactly. It's really, I mean, I myself fall into the trap all the time, and it doesn't have to be a trap of, you know, this animal is smarter than that animal, or, you know, this animal is really brilliant. But when you really look at each individual, and the same with each individual human, there is a divine intelligence, period. And if we can just allow the ego to take a back seat to that divine intelligence, that's when the divine intelligence can shine, and that's when we see a higher consciousness eluding from the individual and the animal. And so, you know, I invite every animal and every being that comes into my world to reach their fullest potential. And, you know, I'm a work in progress as well, so I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I live on clouds with silver lining and I'm always in this place of Zen. I'm doing my best each and every day, and sometimes understanding, as you know, Don Miguel Ruiz said, understanding with the Four Agreements, that sometimes one day my best may not be as good as the next day, but I let go of, at least suspend the criticism of self, putting the ego aside and allowing my divinity to shine through as much as I possibly can, to where one day I wake up and it's just habit, to where I'm exactly who I am. I am like my horses who just are happy where they are. I'm like my wolves who are happy being a wolf. I'm like my Central Asian Shepherd who is happy being a Central Asian Shepherd. If I want a German Shepherd, if I want a Chihuahua, why don't I go get one instead of trying to change him into something that he isn't? He accepts what he is. He's happy what he is. And the animals have reflected that to me. And I'm like, my horses aren't wanting to be giraffes. They're not wanting to be zebras. They're not wanting to be bears. They're happy being horses. What is it that they're doing that I'm not? What is it? What do I need to do to just be?
I think actually even in Eckhart Tolle, he mentioned something about saying, like, if you were to ask an animal what time it is, that they would say, well, it's now.
It's now.
It's now. So I do like the present, and it's true. I think as humans we aspire to be this or that, or play the comparison game. Why does this person have more than I do? More likes, more money, more this, more everything, better life. But I don't think that animals actually. I don't think that they think that. They're just.
It's funny you'd say that. You know, I have a TV series in development called Animal Heart, and it's basically the world through the eyes of the animals. And there's a little sketch that we wanted to do for the sizzle reel, and that is, you know, there's this herd of horses, and they're in this beautiful green pasture, and along comes this lone horse from the side, and she starts eating, you know, and she's this beautiful thing with a long flowing mane and tail, and this group of 3 mares, female horses, stand there and they start talking, and they say, look at her hair. Can you believe that? It's probably extensions. You can believe the way she's wearing her eyelashes, and look at those nostrils. Why is it so pink? Doesn't she just ever get disgusted with that? Look at that tail. It's too long. She probably steps on it all over the place and trips. I mean, my gosh. I mean, nothing could be that perfect. You know, and they start just having added and gossiping, and all of a sudden she walks up to them and she says, well, hello there. Thank you so much for sharing this grass. You found the most perfect place. Thank you so much. I just love how you wear your hair. And those dots on your body, those are beautiful. Those are just amazing. I really hope I get to run into you again. Well, have a nice day. And she trots off. And they look at each other and they say, isn't she nice? What a lovely creature. And they go back to eating. I mean, it's preposterous. Horses would never criticize another horse. They just don't.
There isn't such a thing, probably.
No, there isn't. There isn't.
No.
There's levels of dominance and things, but that's the natural order.
I am curious about this. I definitely want to see I don't want to say your wolf. I want to see the wolf. What's the wolf's name?
Sorry?
What's the wolf's name?
Brimley.
Brimley, okay.
Brimley.
Definitely would like to see Brimley. That would be very cool. We've never had an interview where anybody's got up and gone anywhere. So that would be really cool. But I got to ask this, too. Like, I always have these conversations with my wife about our cats, because that's the only thing that we have. And my wife will say, oh, the cat's sad, the cat's this, the cat's that. And so you probably won't like this, and everybody that is much more in tune to animals than I am won't like this. But I tell my wife, I'm like, the cat is not capable of that kind of thing. The cat eats, uses a cat box, and sleeps, and wants to get petted. And that she doesn't get, so how deep of thoughts actually do animals really have? And I mean, again, everybody can think I'm, totally stupid for asking this kind of question, but I mean, I know that there's somebody else out there like me that thinks the same thing.
Sure. So just like people, I mean, we can really, we're people and humans, so we can relate to humans, right? There are different levels of consciousness, awareness, thought, intelligence, emotional quotient or EQ. So there's different levels. No, there is no creation that is better than another. We might personally judge someone else as better, but that's just for us, right? That's our own personal perception. So with your animals, you have different levels. You have 2 cats, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have different levels of intelligence. You have one that's quite cheeky and actually does quite a bit of thinking, and another one that's just kind of like, whatever.
Well, I've got an older one that's a Bengal that does actually is pretty observant. I mean, even the smallest anything, and you could see there's stuff going on in there.
Yeah.
And then we've got a kitten that wants to just play, so.
Exactly. That's your thinker. That's just, I just want to enjoy life. And the bottom line is that all of creation, I mean, we have to first kind of agree. I believe, and I know, I don't just believe, I know that every piece of creation was created with one energy. And that energy I have called and do call and is love. All of creation is created with one energy. That's the only creative energy that there is. Now, what happens is we have volition. We have the ability to choose what to do with that. We can mold it in different ways. We can create it to look like love inside out, which is then fear or, the opposite of love, whatever that is. So your animals will evolve or become more aware according to what you give them. So they're in your environment for a reason. I believe that everything has an order and there is a reason for everything that goes on. My past, the reason why I went through all the stuff that I went through as a kid, brought me to this place of awareness of wanting more. I wanted to know more. I wanted to know more. I needed to know more. I wanted to get free. Free of what? Free of the bondage of the lie, of the fear, of the abuse, of all that. Why? Because I am a being of love. I am part of creation, created with one energy, that energy being love. And all we all want to do is get back to that feeling of feeling balanced, or AKA love. We just want to feel love. We just want to feel good all the time. That's why we go to movies. That's why we go to Disneyland. That's why we take trips. That's why we go to desert islands. That's why we do anything. That's why we wear certain colors, because I like it. It makes me feel good, right? Listening to music because I like how it feels. I just want to feel balanced. I want to feel the love that I am. I want to feel my nature. Just as a horse wants to feel its nature, you put it in a stall, and what happens? 12 by 12 stall for years. You're going to end up with a sport horse that has injury after injury, probably weaves, probably bites, probably gets colic and all kinds of other issues, and makes the vet very happy because at the end of the day, your check cashes. The bottom line is that if we create an environment for every piece of creation to be in its natural habitat or natural environment, including humans, and our natural environment is one of loving, nurturing environment, and if animals are a part of that, then yes, part of that, then we will all return to a place of balance easier, and life is easier. Life isn't supposed to be a struggle. It was never supposed to be that way.
Wow.
Life was supposed to be balanced. And you see that with the animals. When you give the animals what they need, their whole immune system turns around and they're happy. Let's take dogs, for instance, or wolves. You start giving these dogs who are carnivores, they're not omnivores, they're not herbivores, contrary to all the stuff that we have, the controversial information that we have going on. They are carnivores. They're meat eaters. Look at their teeth. I mean, I don't have fangs, do you? I mean, for Pete's sake, let's look at the digestive system. You're not a carnivore. Or maybe you are. But I'm not. I mean, humans are not carnivores. Dogs are. We know that when we start giving a dog a carnivore diet, that doesn't mean go buy your dog a steak. It needs a balanced carnivore diet. Go to Pat McKay, Animal Nutritionist Inc., Animal Nutrition Inc. She's a homeopath and just the most world-renowned leader in animal nutrition. And she'll give you a recipe for your dogs, for your cats, the whole thing.
I'll put a link in the thing here too.
Yeah, Pat McKay is amazing. She's 85,000 years old. She's sharp as a tack. She's been on the planet a long time. Looks amazing, sounds amazing, and her information is second to none. But basically, it's so simple, and everything really is simple. But we've convoluted the information with our higher intelligence. And I'm not saying textbooks are bad. And I'm not saying don't go to university and don't get degrees. I'm saying go do that. If that makes you happy, go do that. What I'm saying is that things are simpler. And I guess the question is, don't believe me. Ask the question. What if things were simpler? What if things are easier than I have believed them to be? What if I am supposed to be happy all the time? And what would it take for me to be happy right now? Never mind tomorrow or even 10 minutes from right now. Right now, what would it take for me to be happy right now? If it's listening to music, go do that. But with our dogs, what we see, this is all related, even though it sounds like it's kind of.
Let me ask real quick. Let me jump in on that. I don't want to break your flow, which is awesome. I want to ask a little bit about can I be happy all the time? So. When we were talking before the interview, one of the things that you had said that you had struggled with that nobody knew about was depression, and I can relate to that. I've had, a few pretty bad ones over the years. Great for a long time now. I treat it by, physical exercise, prayer, trying to reframe different things. But how can we work with animals or use animals then to help us to what would you say to somebody that's struggling with depression right now or anxiety or you've been there, and so your perspective is even beyond animals is very unique. What kind of advice would you give somebody?
So I would say the first thing is to, at least for right now, at least temporarily, suspend the label. So, we're a society right now that's so caught up in labels, oh, that's a narcissist, or oh, that's a skeptic, or, or that person suffers from depression or anxiety. And we're so quick to label. I don't really care to find out why we're so quick to label, but we're so quick to label others as well as ourselves. But what if we could just, for right now, what if you haven't done this, I would really invite you to do this. Let go of the label for right now. You see, I never labeled it. I never labeled that I was suffering from severe depression. I never labeled that I had severe, stress and anxiety. And, to me, it was like stress. I couldn't have stress. My life was loaded with chaos and a huge amount of stress. And, I've had not near-death experiences. I've had death experiences and come back. So I know what all that's about. But I'm just saying, at least for now, suspend the label. And then ask, I would say, this is what I did, ask myself, what would it look like? What do I need to do to be happy right now? What is it that I need to do? You know, the brain might go to, well, there's nothing I can do. But really nothing? Of course there's something. Maybe it's treating yourself to an ice cream, or maybe it's just going for a walk, or maybe it's tuning in to your dog. Maybe it's sitting down with your dog and looking into your dog's eyes, knowing that dog knows everything about you and that dog accepts you unconditionally right now. In other words, that dog loves you. What is keeping you from loving you?
Wow.
What is it within the dog that allows that dog to love you, and what's stopping you from accepting that dog's love? Why not borrow the dog's love for right now? Have you ever tried that? Have you ever gone out and actually done that? You know?
No, I haven't done that. I've never done anything like that. I guess I would, I've thought that kind of thing. I haven't thought about, the dog loves you unconditionally type of a thing. Although I think anybody would. I mean, you come home, the dog wags his tail. It's not judging you. It's just happy to. Who's more happy to see you than the dog is? And why can't? And then it does beg the question: if the dog sees you that way, why can't you see yourself that way as well? So
it's just baby steps, hey? I mean, it's creating a new habit. That's all. It's not like if you've suffered from depression and you've labeled it as well. So now you've got, so now you get to go around and go, I've got depression, as if it's like a badge. Take the badge off is all I'm saying. Put the badge on the shelf. You can always go back to it if this way doesn't work. But at least for right now, set your intention. Okay, yeah, it's true. You can't lie and say, oh, I don't have depression. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying, I'm a hypnotherapist as well and certified in neuro-linguistic programming. So it's really important what we say to ourselves. We understand the words I am are very important. So I'm going to encourage everybody, invite everybody for at least just 1 hour, just 1 hour a day for the next 30 days. And write it down, log it, 1 hour a day. Write your intention, first of all, in the morning. So my intention is to feel better today, to let go of any labels that I've put on myself today, just for that hour, right? And understanding that it can take 30 days to actually form a new neural pathway. So you've had this habit, or let's say you have had this habit, I know I did for years, of thinking that I was worthless, that nothing I did was right, that nobody gave a rip what I said, what I did, that I was just, disappearing. I wanted to disappear. I wasn't valuable in any way, that everybody else could be free from their addiction or eating disorder, but that wasn't for me, that I was alone in that, and there was something different about me. And so I, set out on a road to see if I could leave the planet. I closed my eyes driving my 1-ton truck around corners, going down a mountain, going 60 miles an hour around 25-mile-an-hour turns, and the truck wouldn't go off the road. Stayed on the road, miraculously. But the bottom line is that at some point, if we want to be free, it doesn't require that we're like, boom, free. I've heard those stories, and those stories to me, maybe they're real. Maybe there is that road to Damascus experience where that lightning bolt comes and hits you, and all of a sudden your life has changed. And maybe that's the case, but I'm going to go out on a limb maybe and say that maybe more people are like I am, and I know
I gotta say, you're pretty unique. So,
well,
in terms of more people being like you, well, go ahead.
Well, I'm just thinking that as suffering from, as a person who suffered from a severe eating disorder, and lineage, my DNA is loaded with alcoholics and addicts and the whole thing. So I was headed down that road. But I had too many issues about control, so didn't want to lose control. So I went to the eating disorder thing instead, which was every bit as destructive. But the bottom line is that what I learned, and this was through the animals. It had nothing to do with books or sitting in groups, although groups are very, very helpful. It had nothing to do with sitting in therapy. I learned from the animals, sitting with them, that it was little by little, the same way I would train behaviors to an animal on set. I taught a pure wolf on White Fang 2 to retrieve. Wolves don't retrieve. But it was little increments. First it was looking at this, just looking at the stick. Then it was sniffing the stick. Then it was just little tiny increments from that to retrieving a football field length away a fake fish, you know, wrapped in sheepskin. So, I mean, little increments, you know, so you'll have people that will get up there on the podium and tell you their success story. And I would come away from those kind of talks or seminars or symposiums, I would come away from those kind of weekends feeling worse. Yeah. Because it was like, why can't I get free? That person did, why can't I? And I learned, again, the animals don't talk, they don't yell at you. They just are soft in their approach. And most of it's by example. Sit and watch a herd of horses with an open mind, without your humanistic views. Sit and watch a pack of dogs. Go to a dog park and watch how those dogs are interacting. Take a notebook. Maybe you don't have a dog, but go to a dog park and go watch. I'm not advocating dog parks because I'm not an advocate of dog parks. Too many things go on there that I don't agree with. But I'm saying there are dog parks everywhere, so you might as well go and take advantage of it. You know, but you know, it's little baby steps. How do you eat an elephant? The whole thing, we're probably going to die or choke on it or something's going to happen. But you're not going to eat the whole thing. It's one
you should eat an elephant, though.
Well, no, you really shouldn't, especially if you're human. Don't eat an elephant. I don't think any animal should really eat an elephant unless the elephant's diseased and you're a pride of lions, maybe. But bottom line is, it's just little baby steps, and that's how you get from big behaviors. You know, that's when you get from giant behaviors that are controlling, like that were controlling me, to not controlling me at all, to completely the flip side. There's two sides to every coin. I chose to turn the coin over and keep turning it and keep turning it and keep turning it until it became my truth. So it's our intention that makes the difference. It was my intention that made the difference. I was unwilling to live in this state of suffering all of the time. And on the outside world, what they saw was big, smiley, energetic me. Because as a kid, I was told, put a smile on your face. You know, and I was like, okay, but you just beat the crap out of me. Okay, I'll put a smile on my face. So I think it helps with my acting as well, and with the professional wrestling. But it certainly didn't serve my overall, you know, quality of life. You know, it was my quality of death, and I was unwilling to accept death. There were too many pretty places to go in the world, and too many amazing animals and people, actually, individuals, you know, to see, and I hadn't seen a lot of it. So.
Wow, you have so much to offer. It's like trying to take a sip off of a fire hydrant or something. There's just an amazing amount there. I would love to see Brimley.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll take, let me see what's my, okay, I have myself plugged in here. Okay, so I guess what I'll do is I'll walk you.
Maybe I'll edit this out, so if this is edited, then it's edited. But
first I have to introduce you to my puppy. I'm not sure where he went.
What a beautiful house.
Oh, thank you. Where's my puppy? Come on, puppy. Oh, there's Flynn. I don't know if you can see. Can you see Flynn?
Nice. Hey, guys.
Hold on. Say hi. Say hi. Hi.
Hey, guys.
Say hi. Okay, come here. No, I just want puppy. Okay, so that's 5-month-old puppy who's weighing in at about 8 pounds right now.
Guy.
He's a Central Asian Shepherd. Okay.
Beautiful.
So we're going to go out. So this area right here is Brimley's bedroom.
Oh, wow.
So Brimley sleeps in there at night. It's got stall mats on it. And so this is the indoor pool. So I'm going to so I have Brimley and I have Charlie. And my poor backyard has actually been given over to Brimley and Charlie. It's just a mess. But I do have a 1/4 acre in the back that we're going to, come on guys. There they are.
Wow.
Puppy. Brimley. So you're going to see real wolf behaviors. So just observe. Say hi. Can you see hi? Can you see that?
Hi, Brimley.
Just there, she submits a piece to me because she sees me as her leader. That's Charlie, who's all muddy, and he's Brimley's friend.
Hi, Brimley. Hi, Brimley. Wow. Now, how old is Brimley?
Brimley is 15 months old. Charlie, don't eat the computer.
So he's just a little, Brimley is a boy or a girl? It sounds like a boy name.
So Brimley's a girl. She's a female.
Okay.
As you can see, she's quite happy.
You see, so 15 months, how big is Brimley going to get?
So she'll grow till she's about 2 years old. Wolves and most exotic animals like her
are not sexually mature till they're 2 years old, some even later. Your Arctic wolves aren't sexually mature till they're 3. The reason why I like using wolves like Brimley, and I actually have another one coming next year in Arctic, and the reason why I like using wolves is because they're so pure in their intent, and they're so, again, they elicit a sense of specialness within the individual. And it's like, what if we could, don't drink the pool, Brimley, what if we could create that for a few minutes every day, you know, that sense of specialness. So all I need to do is have somebody for just a few minutes, let's say Brimley, and have her connect with them, and then I can just have them conjure that sense of specialness up in a hypnosis session. So you're going to observe right now, you may observe, careful guys. So that right there was just a little pack stuff order going on.
So is Brimley the dominant then between the dogs?
Quit. So I'm alpha, which allows me to correct. There we go. Sorry.
And then who's next on the totem pole? Is that Brimley then?
Sorry?
Who's next in the pecking order? Is it Brimley?
Brimley is number 1. Well, after me. After me, she's number 1. Charlie is number 2. And then Puppy right now is number 3, but he's quickly climbing. As you can see, he's really big. So Brimley is probably, I'm going to say she's 85, 90 pounds. She's a big girl. What are you doing?
Very cool.
Good girl. That's a good girl. Okay, come on, guys.
They got to eat you out of house and home, I would think, too.
Sorry?
I said they got to eat you out of house and home, I would think.
Oh, very much so. Come on, Puppy. Puppy, Tank. Tank, come
They're
here.
all gorgeous.
They have such a good time out here, but the yard is just a mess.
Yeah, it looks like a bunch of dogs out there, for sure. Yep.
They love it. Come on, Tank. Tank.
Do you have to have like a license or anything like that to have a wolf? Can anybody anybody can't have a wolf, right?
No, you don't. I mean, there's some states that they're completely banned, but Utah's not one of them. Wow. So, I mean, to have a pure wolf, which I can have, it just requires permits, and I wouldn't have them here on. I wouldn't have them here on.
What percentage is Brimley of how pure it is?
So Brimley is about 76%. Come here, Puppy.
76.
Puppy. Come here, Tank. No, I need Tank, not you. Just Tank. No, I want Tank. No, get off him. Get off him. She's standing on him. Can you come here, Tank? No, Brimley. No, Brimley. No. Go inside. Thank you. Okay, no. Good girl. She's grabbing Tank. She doesn't want him to go. Okay.
That's great.
That's pretty crazy. Come on.
Yeah. Well, wonderful.
Good boy, Tank. So I don't leave Tank out in the yard all the time. Brimley and Charlie, come on, Tank. Tank's standing at the door telling me it's time to have another meal.
Oh, okay.
So he eats twice a day.
He's going to sit right there and just say, yeah, it's time, feeding time.
Yeah, that's where all the meat is stored, is in my deep freeze and the refrigerator. Come on, mister. He's like, no, I'm not getting up. Come on, get up.
Oh.
Look, I'm like, I don't want to. I don't want to.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so he's going to stay there. It's hotter out here, though. Look, he's just going to stay around. I'm going to guard the door. Anybody goes in and out, I'm going to know it.
I'm going to get fed. That's hilarious.
Oh, silly boy. Oh, boy.
Well, it's been really wonderful to spend some time. If somebody wants to get back to you, then do they just go to, I know that you're on social, I know that you're, how should people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so, I mean, definitely please, I invite you to follow me on animal.hart, that's H-A-R-T. So the acronym for my name is KT Hart, H-A-R-T. You can go to my website, which is the letter K, letter T, H-A-R-T, no E in my heart, .com, so KT.com, or animal.hart, or my Facebook, which is KT Olympia Hart. Olympia is my former wrestling name, or Animal Heart with KT Hart on Facebook. So I'm kind of all over the place. You can find me on YouTube. If you type in Glow or Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, Corporal Kelly, you'll find me there. So I'm the original Corporal Kelly. The second Corporal Kelly looks nothing like me. She has super short hair. But anyway, that's another story. They replaced me with somebody completely different. But.
That is so funny. Well, we'll have links to everything down below in the in this piece and in the feature, and also I might even we might even have a link to the documentary or something like that. Although maybe not, since it's on Prime. I guess it's going to be something paid, but we'll include some other
Medicine
things.
of the Wolf is really good. Yeah. So what I want to do here with the wolves is have a classroom setting where I can have bleachers out there with a quarter-acre enclosure for them, and I have plans of putting up kind of looking like a fake rock with a cave and then misters on the inside of the cave. And then Brimley really loves the water, so I do want to put a little pond in the area for her. So anyway, and then she'll have a wolf companion next year as well. And then, I mean, education starts with those that are open, and most of our open minds tend to be in grade school, and through high school even still, and a lot of our adults still have open minds. It's my observation that it's just a little bit harder with the adults.
Yeah.
Yeah,
very cool. I mean, I'm probably one of them. I like animals and stuff, but when I meet somebody like you, well, I've never met anybody like you, but when I meet anybody akin to that, there's probably maybe frequencies I just don't really pick up on, but I appreciate as well. And it's really it's funny, even connecting on video, it seems like you connect to the animals. I don't know what it is about seeing animals. Everybody is immediately transformed, like you said. So
yeah, I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit, however. So
maybe not, but.
I think we are what we speak, for sure, and I think that each individual, if it's true, and I know it is true, that each piece of creation is divine, then we are all divine creatures, and whether we're living our potential or not is completely inconsequential as to the creation that we truly are, which is divine. And
that's very interesting. I will say this. I was gonna completely close everything out because I've spent a lot of your valuable time, and I really appreciate it. I enjoyed this even more than when we had chatted on the phone, and but it reminds me of something I read in a book one time that said that a gold ring is valuable because it's crafted by a master. Is valuable because you can see the intricacies, you can see the artwork, you can see all of the skill that has gone into fashioning this piece of jewelry, this gold ring. But the ring itself has intrinsic value because it's made out of gold. And so it doesn't need to do anything at all because it's already valuable because it's gold. And I think that's a lot we need to remind as people that we're valuable overall. So I like that. And so it kind of came up in terms of aspiring to be this, and yeah, but I'm not that, and yeah, but I'm not that, yeah, but you're actually already valuable the way you are.
Yeah,
the animals don't have that agenda.
No, they don't have an agenda, so the one thing I would also add to that would be, if you don't understand or you're not feeling your worth, I mean, you are the gold, as, you're saying, Rob, that maybe it's important that you adopt the animal's view of you, at least for a moment, at least for a few moments a day. And then perhaps when you're not around that animal, conjure up those feelings that animal has given you.
I love that. Adopt the animal's view of you, and then throughout the day, conjure up
feelings. Mm-hmm.
That's really
adopt love. What does it feel like? So we can all imagine, pretend, or visualize. So imagine, pretend, or visualize you being that animal loving you. What does it feel like? Pretend. Pretend. Because pretending is, we're already on our way to our intention. Our intention is to feel good. And so why not pretend? So pre-tend, the intention. Right? Pretend. Pretend you're the animal loving you. What does it feel like? Just close your eyes and take a deep breath, and what does it feel like? Maybe you feel kind of retarded doing it. So what? Is what you're doing working for you? And if it is, keep doing it. If it's not working for you and you want something different, why not try something completely outrageous?
Right. I love that. Really, really, really good stuff. The interview, obviously, I could go for another hour or two. I could
be after the horses.
I've really enjoyed this time, and obviously you can see, everybody, why we're so excited about having Katie on. It's like several different, many different lifetimes, I would say, of experience, but we've never had anybody on that is connected to animals like this, and it was a real pleasure to meet Brimley and the rest of the crew too.
I'm impressed with her. She's amazing, amazing animal.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again. If you hang on just a minute, I'm going to stop the recording and we can chat for just a second.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate you so much for jumping on. Hang on one second.